five-star wrestling with huge targets on their back because of their reputation. Can they try and get some pride back here tonight and get some revenge?
From Battle Creek, Michigan, here's the whole effing show. This is Rob Van Dam.
Unbelievable display here. It's very warm up at the commentary desk. We've got fire dancers, we've got these fire flamethrower cannons. What an entrance from Rob Van Dam.
Mr. Thursday Night, the Extreme Icon, live here in the Fly DSA Arena in Sheffield, and this is a man, he knows how to fly. He is the master of the five-star frog splash, and he is going for some revenge on Zack Gibson, who last week put him in the Shankly Gates armbar and clearly tried to break his arm.
Absolutely, that's what we said earlier. Zack Gibson doesn't care about what happens. He promises consequences when he doesn't get his own way, and to be fair, he delivers on that promise.
Well, to me, it just seems that Gibson and Brown just wanted to injure people. They haven't been interested in winning matches. They haven't been interested in pinfalls or submissions, because most of the matches so far, certainly with Gibson, have ended in disqualification.
But can you argue with the results?
And his tag team partner.
And here comes Rey Mysterio. And this is a very popular, very laid-back, very mild-mannered young man. But backstage, popular the world over. But I tell you what, the fire has been lit under him by Gibson and Rampage. And we'll see if the master of the 619 can extinguish the bricks and prove that they don't, despite what Zack Gibson says, run the show.
California, here's the master of the 619. This is Rey Mysterio.
And Greg, you know, we've been critical of the fact that Zack Gibson and Rampage Brown aren't going for wins. They're looking to injure, but we can't argue with the results and the impact that they've had. They're here in the main event with two of the biggest household names ever in professional wrestling.
Indeed, they were the tag team champions in the big company in America. And we will see if they can roll back the years. Remember that great tag team continuity they used to have, and take out these two, the Leeds Ruffian and the Scouse spokesman.
And again, this is a serious clash of very different professional wrestling styles. You look at the speed and the agility of Rey Mysterio and Rob Van Dam. The flexibility in particular of Rob Van Dam is really unmatched. And then you've got the technical wrestling acumen of Zack Gibson and the smash mouth powerhouse style of Rampage Brown.
So Rey Mysterio is going to start things off against a thorn in his side ever since we were at the Liverpool Echo Arena, when Zack Gibson, it all started 2 weeks ago when Zack Gibson confronted Rey Mysterio backstage before their match, made his intentions clear that he had no interest in playing second fiddle to the big American names. And then in their match, which was a tremendous match, he ended it with a well-placed boot to the groin, ending in a disqualification. Then last week, targeting Rob Van Dam at the end of their match, once again, Gibson throwing the rule book out, getting disqualified for refusing to release the Shankly Gates armbar when RVD got to the ropes. And then tonight, Gibson, after trying to negotiate or demand his way into a title match with the new champion Jake Hager and being unsuccessful, Hager, of course, far more interested in defending his championship against somebody who he knew had no chance of beating him. Gibson runs in, and Rampage Brown's match with Rey Mysterio doesn't even happen. Gibson once again mouthing off at Rey Mysterio, and RVD had seen enough. And that's why we're in this tag team main event right now.
And look, Greg, it's one thing to talk the talk, but if you're going to walk the walk, you have to take into consideration, look at the shape that Rey Mysterio is in. Look at the shape that Rob Van Dam's in. These guys are still top-level athletes, despite the fact they've had decades of experience in the business. You saw the speed of Rey Mysterio there. It's unmatched still to this day.
Indeed it is. Pace now going to quicken, because that's the way that Rey Mysterio likes it, but there's a huge shoulder block by Zack Gibson. taking down Rey Mysterio. He had some really pointed comments for Mysterio earlier on in the ring. I think that they'll be talking about those online, as they have been about everything that Zack Gibson's been saying over the past few weeks. But I tell you what, Zack Gibson, he's finally got what he wanted, Joe. He's in the main event.
That's what I'm saying. We can question the methods, but it's working. The results are there. But so is the tag team synergy of Rey Mysterio and Rob Van Dam. The beautiful backflip there, assisting, and then into the leg drop. Rob Van Dam goes for the cover, tying up the arms there, stopping Zack Gibson getting the leverage he needs to kick out. It'll be interesting to see what the strategy is for Rob Van Dam to take over here on Zack Gibson. Zack Gibson's backing him into the corner, going straight to those ribs.
14 years ago, that's when Rob Van Dam and Rey Mysterio teamed for the first time. Became the World Tag Team Champions, defeating the team of Rene Dupree and Kenzo Suzuki. Remember them?
I do indeed, Greg.
And faced many of the best tag teams all over the world, but of course became major global superstars in their own right as well, both as individual World Heavyweight Champions.
Greg, we've been talking this evening about, you know, the beauty of the arm drag. And what Rob Van Dam did there is he did the arm drag, but he held onto the arm to keep Zack Gibson close. As Zack Gibson pulls the hair of Rob Van Dam, you know, the referee's kind of letting that go a little bit. They need to be careful. They don't want to get disqualified, or maybe they do, Greg. Maybe they still don't care. Maybe they don't care about getting the win over these two. Maybe they just want to cause destruction and injuries. And thus far, who can argue with that strategy, Greg?
Well, here's the man who injured Moose, put him on the shelf, pile drive Rey Mysterio. The man has been on a rampage here, quite literally, in five-star wrestling. Taken down with the arm drag, though. Mr. Thursday Night, still as quick as he ever was. And Rampage Brown, tough though he may be, I tell you what, when you're having your arm ringed like that out of its socket, doesn't matter how tough you are, that is going to hurt.
Doesn't matter how big you are either. That's one way to neutralize the size advantage of your opponent. Double leg drop there. Again, it's really impressive. I mean, here's a cover. It's very impressive about the tag team synergy between Rey Mysterio and Rob Van Dam. It's like they were custom built to be a tag team with the maneuvers that they're doing together. Very impressive from the two of them so far.
Well, it's a huge story tonight. Rey Mysterio and Rob Van Dam teaming up, trying to show that it is not Zack Gibson and Rampage Brown who run the show. And, you know, I don't even think that Rey Mysterio and Rob Van Dam particularly want to prove that they run the show. You know, they're just here to entertain the fans. They're here to do what they're signed to Five-Star Wrestling to do. And I tell you what, so far, every single week they have come out, they've given value for money, they have given 100%. They've done everything that Zack Gibson claims they don't do. Oh, and here we go as a Bronco Buster from Rey Mysterio. I mean, where do you stand on that, Joe? Wait a second. Oh, the split leg moonsault from Rob Van Dam. Wait a second, because this might be a pinfall. It might be the end of Rampage Brown. It's not.
You know,
sorry, Joe.
As a British talent myself, I can understand the frustration, but at the end of the day, for any competitor, it's got to be a privilege to be in there with talents of the likes of Rob Van Dam and Rey Mysterio, but perhaps that's why Rampage Brown and Zack Gibson are so successful. And they're being successful as a tag team right now.
Indeed. Gibson used Rampage Brown as almost as a shield there as he leapfrogged over the top to clothesline Rob Van Dam down to the canvas. The referee, Andrea Malalana, makes the count, but it's not enough.
You stay where you are.
And look at the confidence of Zack Gibson. Maybe there's something to be said for giving your opponent absolutely zero respect. And Rey Mysterio, who's usually very calm and collected, is a little bit out of his element here. Is coming to the ring to confront Zack Gibson, proving that perhaps Zack Gibson is in the head of the master of the 619, Rey Mysterio. And if they can get there, they can start to upset his timing, and that's when it can lead to mistakes. And Rampage Brown and Zack Gibson can really take over in this matchup.
Well, the mouth of Magul controlling the Extreme Icon right now, sending him hurtling into that turnbuckle, and Rob Van Dam in a lot of pain in his lower back. And Gibson's going to try and keep RVD in the corner. Tag made to Rampage Brown. And the Brits are definitely running things at the moment, there's no doubt about it. But for how long? We will see. Look at the power of Rampage Brown. Big suplex. RVD kicks though with the far leg, and out he comes before the count of three.
Just absolutely textbook. It's really difficult to put into words how good Rampage Brown is. The perfect balance of technique and power with that suplex there. It takes the wind right out of your opponent.
Well, what a night it's been on 5-Star Wrestling live on Free Sports as Rampage Brown stamps on the hand of RVD. We've seen Joey Axel claim another victim to the Ayers Rock Lock. We've seen another victory for Eddie Ryan, who then challenged Jake Hager to a championship match next week in Plymouth. No answer from Jake Hager, but he did defend his championship tonight against a British wrestler, although it wasn't really very competitive. And then, of course, we've seen the Pure Dead Brilliant end up in the ring, but still not having a match. We've seen that mystery masked man with a gas mask and the chains claiming he's going to be there next week in Plymouth. And we've even seen my co-commentator Joe Hendry compete inside the squared circle. And we've seen Grado and Colt Cabana. Everything has happened tonight.
Absolutely, it's been a huge night for 5-Star Wrestling, but one thing for me that's been the focus of it, apart from having to lift up Big Grizzly, and well, let's focus on what's happening right now, and that's Rey Mysterio is right back in the matchup with those stiff kicks to the leg of Zach Gibson.
Yeah,
again, look at the speed through the legs.
Absolutely right, Joe. The seated senton is what started the Mysterio comeback, as it so often does. And Gibson kicked right in that mouth that he's been flapping to such controversial effect since day one here on Free Sports. Rey Mysterio taking him down. Don't forget, you can follow all the news stories coming out of this show. Go to www.5starwrestling.co.uk. Straight after we finish, there's going to be the big news stories as well on Twitter at 5starwrestling.co.uk. That's where you can follow us to find out the fallout.
Join the conversation as well.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no conversation in the ring right now, just pure physical action. That's always the case when Rampage Brown's in there. And once again, he is dominating Rey Mysterio. Elbow drop, not enough.
Wear him down. Wear him down.
Now this is where Rey Mysterio is going to have to dig deep. Look at the difference in size between Rampage Brown and Rey Mysterio. Again, earlier, when Rampage Brown was just wrenching on the neck of Rey Mysterio and sitting on his back, that could do real damage to the spine as Zach Gibson was screaming in his face. You know, we'd be foolish to think that that's not playing an effect in this matchup. To have someone that's, I mean, Rampage Brown must be, you know, at the upper limit of the 200 and something pound. He could even be close to 300 pounds, sitting on the back of Rey Mysterio earlier. And now Rey Mysterio is trying to get back into the matchup. But Gibson's setting him up here.
He's setting him up for this suplex variation, I think. Is he going for what he calls the helter-skelter?
I believe so.
He's trying, but Mysterio countered it.
But Gibson did the right thing. He wasn't able to get the maneuver, so why not just take your opponent back to the corner where Rampage Brown can make the assist? And look at that beautiful teamwork there. Literally passing Rey Mysterio.
It's not enough, though, again.
Close 2 count, though, Greg. Close 2 count.
Wear him down.
The master of the 619 has faced so many bigger, heavier opponents in his career. But this ultimate underdog has made his reputation on beating them, on winning rumbles, on winning world titles, on flying through the air with the greatest of ease and taking down men like Rampage Brown. But so far, in 5-Star Wrestling, he has not been able to do that against Rampage. Will it change? Will it change? Brown, though, just throwing Mysterio under the bottom rope, and Mysterio is flat on his back. And I tell you what, if Mysterio and RVD came into 5-Star Wrestling not knowing too much about Zach Gibson and Rampage Brown, they probably haunt their dreams right now, Joe.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, we do have to give credit where credit's due. I mean, Rey Mysterio and Rob Van Dam are both world champions. Rey Mysterio won his world championship on the grandest stage of them all. So we can get it done in those high-pressure situations. You can never count him out. But right now, looking at Rey Mysterio lying on the arena floor, it's hard for me to think that he's going to be able to come back into this matchup when you see how much that Zach Gibson and Rampage Brown have recovered from the earlier damage in the matchup. They are completely in control of this matchup.
Get him in his corner.
Rob Van Dam concerned for his friend. He was looking out for Rey earlier tonight. He wants to make sure that Rey beats the count, though, because they don't want to allow Gibson to score his first victory here in 5-Star Wrestling by a count-out. They don't want him to score any kind of victory, that's for sure.
Did you just say Zach Gibson, this would be his first victory?
It would.
Isn't that incredible? Zach
Gibson
got
himself disqualified against Mysterio and RVD in singles matches.
Zach Gibson is one of the top guys here in 5-star wrestling, and he hasn't won a match.
No doubt, but he's been more interested in making big statements.
And you can't argue with that.
In blowing up the internet with controversial comments than he has in winning wrestling matches to maneuver himself into the position where the spotlight is on him. And like we said earlier, it appears to be working because he's in the main event and he's got a match for the first time on 5-star wrestling live on Free Sports where it's not been just the Americans in the main event. And that is Gibson's agenda at the end of the day.
The thing is, Greg, everyone is talking about Zach Gibson. He's making the big money. And as you say, he's in the main event. Does he need to win matches? These big statements are allowing him and Rampage Brown to effectively take over the company right now because, you've got to feel that 5-star wrestling management have got a vision for what they want to do. But we're not going to have a roster left of these big stars if Rampage Brown and Zach Gibson have their way. And for me, I'm right in the middle, Greg. It's not that they're sides. It's just that these two guys are wanting to make a statement and they're doing exactly that in the ring right now.
Well, Gibson and Rampage continuing the assault on Rey Mysterio. They certainly have engineered this situation. It may not have been exactly what Zach Gibson wanted tonight. He wanted a title match. He made that clear at the top of the show tonight. He made it clear to Jake Hager he did not get his way. And you have to wonder whether that's because, Hager has signed this big money contract with 5-star wrestling. And he has a lot of bargaining power with 5-star wrestling management, who are not Liverpool's #1's favourite people. And neither is he theirs.
Well, that's probably an understatement, Greg. But what I will say is, did you notice how Rey Mysterio used his quickness to get through the legs of Zach Gibson? And Zach Gibson just managed to grab him and drag him back to the corner. And now he's in danger once again.
Gibson and Rampage much younger than Mysterio and RVD, but also much less experienced. But I tell you what, Mysterio and Rob Van Dam, I've said it before, I'll say it again, they have impressed me week on week. Mysterio was brilliant against Gibson. He was scintillating against Haskins, and he is sticking in there against the bigger bruiser from Leeds, Rampage Brown, and that thorn in his side, Liverpool's #1, who takes the tag from his partner. But here comes RVD, and Mr. Thursday Night is unloading clotheslines, kicks, spinning heel kick in the corner on Gibson. RVD accelerating now as he takes to the top rope and comes off with a beautiful somersault body block. This man is absolutely ageless. Or maybe it's like a fine wine, he just gets better with age.
Absolutely, this is as quick and sharp as we've seen Rob Van Dam with an unbelievable senton flip off the top rope there, followed by a kick to the head. And this is the last thing that Rampage Brown and Zach Gibson wanted, because Rob Van Dam is fresh. He's been recovering on the outside of the ring, and now Rey Mysterio has the opportunity to do the same. Zach Gibson and Rampage Brown were in total control, and now they've lost that control momentum to Rob Van Dam, who is now hitting Rolling Thunder.
He has indeed. They may not like the British weather, but they like a bit of Rolling Thunder. And RVD nearly got the pinfall on Zach Gibson, but for Rampage coming in again. And he's going to try and get rid of Mysterio just like he did earlier. Oh, Mysterio this time rolls through. Mysterio was able to get back to his feet. I don't think, did Rampage see that? I'm not sure.
That could have been absolutely devastating, but Rey Mysterio managed to correct his landing in midair and roll through. Getting back into the apron. I don't think that Rampage Brown has noticed as he's trying to go for what looks like a double team pile driver. Gibson's over the top.
Mysterio hits the kick. Roll up by Rob Van Dam. Rob Van Dam's got Rampage Brown. He hasn't pinned him. RVD, Rollo hits the spinning heel kick. Rampage is down. He's in position. Rey Mysterio's dialing it up in Sheffield, where it's 0-1-4, but it's 6-1-9 in San Diego.
And he might be in prime position for the 5-star frog splash. Rob Van Dam goes to the top rope.
Here comes RVD, 5-star frog splash, hits it on Rampage Brown. Van Dam's got Brown, he's got him pinned 1-2. Oh, and Gibson pulls the referee out. Oh, and he's decked the referee.
it's just descended into utter chaos right now.
And now look, there's this match in Sterling, the 5-star tag team champions are assaulting Rob Van Dam and Rey Mysterio. The referee's down. And what is going on here?
Greg, we can't be sure, but I think, it's safe to say that they had the matchup won right there before Zach Gibson pulled out and assaulted the referee.
Zach Gibson is yelling into the camera, warning about consequences yet again. Is this the consequences? That is he recruited Rampage Brown, Adam Maxted and Charlie Sterling to his cause. But wait a second, here comes the Colt Cabana and Grado cavalry. And the fight is on, and it's Cabana and Grado and RVD and Rey Mysterio, and they are joining forces to get rid of this quartet who are trying to prove that the Brits run the show.
No, we don't
RVD takes down Maxted. Huge kick from RVD.
Now, we as commentators don't like to take sides, but I have to say, I am glad to see a force that can stand up.
I think RVD accidentally kicked Grado there. I don't think he quite knows where he is. Oh, beautiful spinning neck breaker by Rob Van Dam, takes down Maxted. Look at
Colt
this.
Cabana is reviving Grado, saving Colt Cabana.
Resuscitation. Mysterio, now this is all broken down. There is no referee. I'm not sure what on earth is going on in terms of the match. Mysterio now, and Rob Van Dam clearing the ring. And Grado, bless him, he came out to help, and I don't even think he realised that Rob Van Dam accidentally kicked him in the face.
See what happens.
Hopefully they can get back on the same page, Greg.
Gibson is on the ramp with Rampage Brown. And Maxted and Sterling, Van Dam, Mysterio, Cabana and Grado are in the ring. And does this mean, Joe Hendry, that battle lines have been drawn? Who runs the show? Maybe we'll get more answers next week when 5-Star Wrestling is at the Plymouth Pavilions. We'll see you next time.